Hello everyone, it's Zoe again, coming to you excited to dive back into my findings from surveying 100 teenagers about their fashion habits and knowledge about the industry. Most importantly, I'm here to talk about the realities of the current fashion system. Today we are going to be investigating what I learned when I asked 100 teenagers, how often do you buy your clothing? And provided them with the options of less than 3 times a year, 3 to 6 times per year, 1 to 2 times per month, 3 to 5 times per month, or more than 5 times per month. With this question, I was looking to find the answer to how much clothing are we really consuming? And what are the trends we see in consumer clothing purchases as a whole right now? Here are my findings. As you can see, the most popular response was that they buy 3 to 6 times per year. It's important to note here, before we analyze the data, that I didn't have my interviewees explain the sources of their clothing. This means that the clothing purchases could have been coming from either conventional big mall superpowers such as Target, or local thrift stores such as Goodwill or Salvation Army, or maybe a combination of both. We have no way of telling. And although this data shockingly reports that teenagers are consuming fashion at a relatively low rate compared to the data that is coming out of the fast fashion industry right now, I still thought it was important to give the context of what my surveyors said they were doing. Now that we have this context, let's talk about textile consumerism as a whole, starting with an interesting discussion in the sustainable fashion world about the effects of consumerism, the good and bad side, and how we can turn consumerism into a good thing. For example, when one buys or consumes clothing from a big mall superpower, such as Target, that is products that are mostly made out of conventional or GMO cotton or synthetic-based plastic fiber and chemical dyes that have no secure forms of labor, that kind of consumerism tells the provider that you like the garment, provides funding to support their business, and therefore they make more, which encourages the rapid extraction of Earth's natural resources and the burning of fossil fuels. In addition, after you buy it, the garment is worn by you, washed by you, and therefore fibers spread throughout the ecosystems, especially via waterways, which in turn deplete Earth's natural resources again that we rely on for food and water. But on the other hand, when one buys or consumes clothing from a small local brand, such as the Fibershed Marketplace, that are made entirely out of organic, biodegradable materials such as organic cotton or organic wool, and natural dyes made from local artisans that are 100% transparent about the whole labor and extraction processes, that kind of consumerism tells the provider, in this case local producers in our bioregional area or Fibershed, that you like the garment and funds them to make more, which encourages the respectful extraction of Earth's resources and furthers the potential sequestration of carbon into the soil, which results in the opposite of the effect of burning fossil fuels has on the atmosphere. Also, the garment is then worn by you, washed by you, and when introduced into waterways, can naturally biodegrade with no chemical input. For all these reasons and more, this kind of consumerism can be seen as beneficial to an ecosystem. Now let's talk about what influences the amount we buy in a year. To put this in 2 words, our industry is fed by impulse decisions and rapid change. This is why many call it the fast fashion industry. Whether you are hearing this word now for the first time or the 100th time, it is obvious that there is a clear connection between fast food and fast fashion. And that connection is exactly where the term fast fashion came from. Just like fast food, fast fashion is of course fast, cheap, of questionable quality, and did not come from the hands of well-paid or well-protected workers. Fast fashion companies, pioneered by Mr. Gowana in 1963 with Zara, function on these main principles. 1. Vertical integration. This means basically that everything is controlled by the company. 2. rapid data taken on customers at all times. This helps the company predict where their behavior is going to lie. 3. Very short designer to retail cycles. For Zara, it only takes 5 weeks to make a garment. Crazy. 4. Cheap labor. 1 in 6 humans on Earth work in the fashion industry. And although this trend of cheap labor has allowed consumers to spend less money on their clothing, spending less than 3% of annual income on clothing as opposed to 10% in the 1950s now, it is so important to emphasize that cheap labor comes at a large cost in terms of human abuse and suffering. To break down this huge topic, we can refer to this graphic from the film, The True Cost, that compares the traditional cycles of clothing based on natural cycles to the cycles of clothing now. As one can see, we have gone from 2 cycles of clothing per year to 50. Because of this rapid cycling of trends, it has been found that, quote, the average consumer is now purchasing 60% more items of clothing compared to the year 2000, but each garment is kept half as long. This fast fashion industry has skyrocketed impulse buying. According to CNBC of 2018, consumers spent $5,400 a year on impulse buys, the second most being on clothing after food. Because of the constant ads everywhere you look for the hottest new handbag and jeans, shopping anxiety rates have never been higher. This graph that shows the value of something before and after you have it can be applied to a lot of situations, but especially fast fashion. The value of a sweater on the shoulders of Jennifer Lawrence is so much higher, especially with the help of Photoshop, professional lighting, makeup, and the work of ad designers with college degrees in persuasion, than when you buy it and it is on your shoulders. And pay attention, teenagers, because we are the most impulsive shoppers of all the age groups. One of the reasons why the fast fashion industry is completely catered towards our generation. A very important player in this fast fashion industry that has sped up the consumption habits of people globally is the online clothing industry. Instead of having the difficulties such as driving or walking to a store in person and having to possibly pester salespeople to find your size, most Americans are choosing to shop from the comfort of their own homes. When I asked 100 teenagers how often they bought clothing online, these were the results. And although the majority chose the category that offered the least amount bought, it is no doubt that online shopping has risen in the past few years. As one can see, the data is not staggeringly leaning towards supporting the online shopping industry, but after looking at the data, one can see the trends are leaning towards e-commerce. In this graphic, one can see the general upward trend of online shopping between 2012 and 2017, especially the 16% increase in online retails purchased in 2017 compared to those purchased in 2016. According to Shopping.fm, quote, in the USA, the total offline sales are 10 times bigger than online. However, the online shopping business is growing 3 times faster than offline. As online shopping continues to grow and improve, it has been seen to be favored over in-store shopping. It has been found that, quote, 51% of Americans and 67% of USA millennials prefer shopping online rather than in-store. Now that we have talked about how the pressures of the fast fashion industry have led us to consume more and more clothing faster and faster, it is important to state some solutions to this problem. According to Katrina Rodebaugh, who is an expert in fine arts, sustainability, and slow fashion, the answer can be as simple as going from fast fashion to a fashion fast. This simply means take a break from consuming rapidly and feeding into the fast fashion industry, and instead look around and use what you have. Now this could go in a few directions. It could mean you, 1. Only wear the clothing you have now, 2. Only wear recycled clothing. The most accessible solution to most people is this option. Or make your own clothing. In Katrina's case, She decided to live by the rules of make, thrift, mend, meaning she vowed to abstain from factory clothing for 1 year, while focusing on making her own garments, buying secondhand, and mending what she already owned. The point is that when one removes themselves from this rapid-fire consumption cycle the fast fashion industry has been selling us is normal, we can start to take charge of our influence on the earth and the people on it for the better. So make this video be a sign to you to stop and rethink, and possibly try out the make, thrift, mend mindset, or maybe just thrift, or maybe just mend, whatever is easiest. Know that the easiest way to integrate sustainability into your life is in small bites. Maybe next time you feel the urge to shop, you turn to your friends or your own closet instead. Have a clothing swap. Build a community around sharing these textiles. In addition, there are so many amazing secondhand stores all around the area that you can donate and buy from, as well as apps such as Depop and Poshmark to sell your clothing on. I personally have been living by these sustainable rules for as much as I could for a year now, and I can't tell you how empowering it is to put your creativity to the test, be truly original, and stop influencing this horrible cycle of fast fashion. Thanks for listening and have a great day.